Look, this is just incredible, right? You've got Devin Archer directly contradicting what the President of the United States has said for 2 years now, right? Said that he's never been involved with his son's business dealings. Now we're hearing that over 20 different times in person and via phone, he's gotten involved with his son's business meetings. Look, I think it's time that the American people are going to see this, and I think it's definitely going to play in 2024.
Well, and let me ask you, you're in a swing state. You're in Nevada, right? That's where you plant your flag, is Nevada. Do you think this plays in Nevada in the favor of Republicans? There's a Senate seat up for grabs, I believe. You've got, the presidential race, of course. Nevada could be critical in how that race plays out for president.
Look, this year in Nevada, we're looking at our presidential year only voters, right? Our people who don't turn out in the midterms. And these are the kind of people that President Trump pulls out in a big way. It seems more and more likely every day that President Trump is going to be the Republican nominee. Look, I think anything that comes out about Biden, I think this is going to dominate the news cycle. You have even the leftist news talking about this now, acknowledging that President Biden lied. You see President Biden acknowledging that he's got a grandkid he never talked about. You have Chairman Comer coming out and saying that President Biden lied to the American people when he said he had no knowledge about his son's business dealings. The voters are paying attention, Steve. This is going to be a relatively informed election cycle, and I think a lot of your swing voters who are on the fence about turning out, they don't really like Biden that much. I think this puts the nail in the coffin for them.
Well, they don't like Biden. They think that Biden has other problems, being old and out of touch and wandering around and mumbling and saying strange things. They don't like any of that, plus the weakness that he exudes. Americans don't like this weakness. I don't, on the world stage and elsewhere. But let's talk a little bit about, you're in a meeting. You've got some clients from Ukraine or Russia, China, whatever, and you say, hey, you want something done here, we'll get it done. Let me show you how easy this is. Boom. Hey, Dad, it's Hunter. Yeah, how's the weather there in D.C.? Good. We're just here with some friends, talking about a couple of things. And so the Democrats want to sell you on that's perfectly normal. No, that's the shakedown. That's throwing the hammer out on the table and saying, here's the brand. You want the hammer? We've got him on speed dial. That's what that's about, isn't it?
Look, it actually is. I mean, it's the Biden brand. Hunter Biden is a nobody, right? He's only got his dad's name and his dad's power. He's a guy who hasn't really accomplished anything without his father. Now you've got a board meeting of Burisma that's going on in Dubai, and they say, hey, Hunter, we need you to call D.C. to get this problem taken care of. We're being looked at by the Ukrainian prosecutor. Biden has the nerve to joke about getting Viktor Shokin, the Ukrainian prosecutor, fired right after he calls D.C. How amazing is that? Hunter Biden makes one phone call to D.C., and the next thing you know, Joe Biden is joking about how he got the prosecutor fired. It's crazy.
Yeah, 1 month after that phone call, he's on a flight to Ukraine, where he drops the threat. A few weeks after that, the prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, is fired. You're exactly right about that. Let me ask you this, though, how this plays out, Steve. Impeachment. Because right now there's talk that impeachment has the support of, a growing number of Republicans because the evidence is becoming overwhelming. It's $17.3 million officially that they've seen James Comer outline. Nancy Mace says she thinks it's north of 50 based on what she's seen. Comer says it could be as high as $100 million that the Bidens got. But generally speaking, impeachments are not particularly popular. It helped Bill Clinton. The attacks on Donald Trump seem to help him lately. Does an impeachment effort help Joe Biden or hurt Joe Biden? Or does it depend on what the facts truly are?
I think it totally depends on what the facts truly are, Steve. Look, I think at least every Republican on the Oversight Committee at this point is seriously considering impeachment, right? They saw firsthand what Devin Archer had to say. I think if we have a few more testimonies like this from some Hunter Biden friends, associates, maybe some friends of the big guy testifying, I think at that point we have some serious grounds to consider impeachment. Look, it depends what the facts are. If this is an impeachment that we're trying to run through quickly before next November, I think it's very possible that this gives a little boost to Biden, especially among the Democratic base, gets them fired up, gets the money on the Democratic side, fired up. George Soros money flooding in from everywhere. But look, I think if we've got the facts laid out, if we have 10 more Devin Archers come out, more money, more outlines of the big guy getting involved in Hunter Biden's business dealings. Look, I think the American people are going to be convinced and realize that impeachment proceedings against President Biden are necessary.
Yeah, they might see that because, look, you've got the money piling up. You've got the accusations piling up. And the defense of, we talked about the weather, is not holding up. And so I think people are completely disgusted by that. Plus, if you throw in the economy, the inflation, the problem with the southern border, the weakness on the world stage we talked about. And again, if you can motivate, but here's the question, Steve. If Donald Trump, for some reason, is not the candidate, because it's been my belief for a while now that the efforts from those behind the curtain is to get rid of both Trump and Biden. They want to clear the slate of both these guys. Biden is dangerous to them because he's arrogant and his brain's addled. Trump's dangerous to him because he's not beholden to him. So they want to get rid of both of these guys and bring in a new slate. If it's not Trump for any reason, and it's not Biden for any reason, then what?
Look, I think you've got a very interesting race at that point, Steve, right? You've got Gavin Newsom on the Democratic side who's waiting in the bullpen, if you will, right? President Biden, takes a trip out of town and Gavin Newsom's walking around the White House like he owns the place. Clearly, there's a lot of Republicans chomping at the bit to try and go against President Trump. Look, I think if the powers that be try to take both President Trump and President Biden out of power, look, I think it's going to be a crazy race. I think the American people are going to be fed up at that point. You've got the Democratic base who is not super favorable to Joe Biden, but still puts up with him. I think they're going to be energized on the Democratic side. Your Republican base is going to be sickened that they got rid of President Trump, that they were somehow able to litigate him into oblivion or something like that. And
right.
I think you're exactly right, Steve. I think that's their goal.
Yeah, I actually think that Gavin Newsom finishes second to Gretchen Whitmer. I've thought that for a long time because I think Gavin Newsom's too damaged. And Gretchen Whitmer has a lower national profile, which helps her in this particular